What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Hello and welcome to Town Hall Arcade, the brand new podcast covering pretty much multiplayer games in general and then some. An emphasis on esports when it's relevant, but it is the spiritual successor to Town Hall Heroes, a podcast that used to be dedicated to Heroes of the Storm that ran for, 4+ years. And it's been almost a year since then, since that podcast went quiet. That was Town Holiday 2018. We are now just after BlizzCon. It's been a few days since BlizzCon 2019 happened. And, let's just say the inspiration runs high as we have a lot of good things to talk about. But I want to clarify that this show will not just be a Blizzard show. We will talk a lot about Blizzard games, but we're going to jump into, Riot Games, especially with all their new content coming. Might talk about some Valve products. Who knows? Whatever big news, big content there is, controversy, you name it, that's all fair game. But I think we all know each other from Blizzard games, so that is very likely going to be a mainstay topic. My name is Solid Jake. If you're new to the show, new to the channel, new to all of the content I've made, my background does revolve around esports. I was a competitive Melee guy, working with Major League Gaming for a long time. I worked with StarCraft 2, I worked with Call of Duty, I worked with Dota, I worked with League of Legends, but ultimately I went to become a freelance Heroes of the Storm commentator working with Blizzard directly. Did that for many years, and ever since HGC died, I've been basically figuring things out. Joining me here on the show, I've got my good friends Arano and Vipey. Arano, why don't you introduce yourself?
My name's Arano. Been doing this on and off with Jake here for about a year with Warcraft and some other things. My background in gaming is it's always been a love of mine, from playing, Warcraft 2 on the PlayStation all the way through, where we are now. And just coming back from BlizzCon, I couldn't be more excited to just talk about everything we learned.
Vipey?
I'm Vipey, mostly known for Heroes of the Storm. I was a original War 3 player way back in the day. Right now, I am the lead for a team called Saga. They're an awesome LGBT Spectrum Blizzard stream team, so I'm very highly active on there. And really happy to be here. Really, honestly honored to be included in this awesome, just talk about games and our love for it. I'm pretty excited about it, honestly.
I want to talk more about Strata actually, because like when you say LGBT, Heroes of the Storm stream team, is it a community? Is it a team? Like what's the scope and what's the idea behind it?
So basically, Saga is a Blizzard focus, so it's across the board from Warcraft, StarCraft, Diablo. We have streamers across the board. We have about 18 streamers in total right now, hand selected by myself. That way they are, fitting to a part where people can join in, no matter if they're LGBT allies or what have you. They'll feel comfortable for a positive community that will be overall just loving and focus more on the game itself and enjoying people's company based on the love for the games. So
That's awesome.
It's more of like a community. It's kind of, I would say it's a borderline between community and organization in a way, a little bit both, because we're very active on content, but we're also very active on just having fun and creating a loving space for people.
Yeah, that's very cool. And this is pretty new, right? You guys just kind of launched this?
Yeah, just about we launched maybe 5 months ago. So in my mind, we're still in that beta process, but starting next year, we have some huge things going on for the team. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, guys, we have a lot to talk about with BlizzCon being a huge event. I just want to talk about my origins with Vipey really quick because it's going to be relevant for later in the show. But we met each other at last year's BlizzCon. We got scheduled in the same interview block with Christy Golden to talk about War 3. And that was kind of the highlight for me for that whole event was just, Warcraft 3 as a whole and Reforged. And I actually originally wasn't going to talk about Warcraft 3 until kind of around World of Warcraft. But let's just start the show talking about War 3 because we heard very little. I think we were all kind of expecting the game to be out by now. Am I alone there, or did you guys think War 3 Reforged would have launched by now based on 2018 BlizzCon?
I definitely would have said before the end of this year, and that's definitely not happening now because we were just getting beta, next week or the week after?
Yeah, I agree. I literally, for the moment that I kind of saw it at BlizzCon of last year, it looked pretty nice, art wise at least. And then, as we kind of saw it coming along, I was like, all right, maybe we might. In my mind, I was like, oh, we're gonna see it at BlizzCon. It's gonna be like here it is, like we're gonna have it by next month. And it kind of still feels like we're in that process. It's hard to tell because it's a revamp of an old game, so they could work quickly with it, But I don't know. It's kind of hard to say at this point.
It's really surprising to me, though. I mean, we went out to a summit last year. We got to go to Blizzard directly, and we got to really have this intimate hands-on experience with the dev team. And just, from my perspective, is like the passion and the dedication to honoring the game and delivering a modern day, like, re-envision of what Warcraft 3 is without changing Warcraft 3 too much. Yes, they are balancing it further, but yeah, it was incredible. And I think I left saying, okay, summer, we're getting beta. Summer rolled around, didn't get it, and now we're just getting beta. But at least we're seeing some progress. Undead did come out, last night?
Yesterday or something? Yeah.
They did release Undead, and we've seen some Night Elf units. Those are things that were really kind of still, underway, not quite finished. So we're getting there, but I'm just like scratching my head. I'm like, are they going to be adding that much dialogue and content to the campaign that it's taking them this long? Or maybe resources got pulled somewhere else? I don't know. It's really, I wouldn't say troubling, but we're all eager to get our hands on that War 3 Reforged, I think.
Yeah, it's sad. It's not troubling. It's just we wanted it.
we're eager for it. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like, because even when we had our interview with Christy Golden and Rob, it was kind of like we asked questions, and they said they weren't changing too much for the storyline, but they're going to add kind of little tidbits, little side stories that you might not have expected. And it's just kind of crazy. You think that it would just be like, considering they're building it off of the old engine, that it's just the art that they need to work in, And I know we got a chance to see the Undead now, and they look really polished and nice. I will say the one thing that I've noticed is that it's weird. I kind of almost like the classic version of it because it's brighter, but I feel like they still have a lot of kinks to work out, and considering the beta just came out, it's hard to get feedback and fix that within a month. But they could pull magic. Who knows?
Yeah, even like the menus, they're a bit jarring in the beta. Just that whole screen doesn't feel new, and it doesn't feel old. It feels like it's lost in between. It feels like it's 10 years old, like StarCraft 2, but not the retro War 3. And to me, that's a really bad feeling. Like, I want either the perfect, like, honoring of the War 3, the crappy IRC chat rooms, the clans, like, that was perfection. I mean, it's a wonderful vibe that you get in that old school game. And the fact that they kind of ripped the heart out of that was the one thing in the beta, because I only logged in and I played one game, got completely raffle stomped, and said, okay, I'm horrendous at the pathing here. Let's come back to this later. But from the UI and all that was weird. Now, I have a YouTube video that was actually from BlizzCon last year where it has a lot of traction, a lot of comments, whatever. And it's been very interesting since the beta came out, because people are commenting, wow, I love the UI here. How do I get this for the beta? Because when they showed it off last year, it was a very modern beta, with the UI and everything. They scaled that back to completely be the old school style, which probably is feedback from pros and diehard fans saying we really vastly prefer this. But I'm super curious if that's going to be a toggleable option.
I want to say, I remember something about that being discussed in the interview, because we played it before getting to interview them about it at BlizzCon, and I feel you, because I when I saw the beta, basically it's the classic UI. And my biggest issue with the classic UI was that streaming, number one, there's no place for you to put yourself. And number two, it almost makes the screen look like,
dude, it's clunky. It's old. It's
yeah.
And again, I see the appeal if you're a dedicated player, but for a new player, I think the UI they showed us in 2018 was just sexier in every way. It looked nicer. Like you're talking about, as a streamer, there was nice places for. It's much more efficient UI. They had these transparent spaces where the units like Arthas would be green screened. onto like his space, and it looked really nice. So that was one of the few bigger differences I've seen from last year to now that stood out to me, at least.
I can agree on it. I can say the weirdest part about the entire UI is the side in the classic version of War 3, there actually is a design that connects it to these corners. The new UI has these empty gaps where they're trying to create this airy feel, and it just kind of looks awkward to me. So, it isn't beta. We have to remember that, but I'm just hoping that it comes out soon in full force.
Hopefully. I think we'll just kind of leave with the fact that at BlizzCon they said we'll have a date soon, and we all kind of anticipated we'd at least get a release date, but at least they're feeling confident enough to say soon. That's a Blizzard soon, which means maybe little, but we can still get our hopes up. Let's shift straight into Diablo 4. Again, we look at last year, we say, holy crap, how do they close out the year or the opening ceremony with a Diablo mobile game? Not many people were happy. I'm sure some people were. But go ahead.
I will say if you had to play it, it was actually very nice.
That's the thing. Even last year when I played Immortal, I said it's really freaking fun.
Yeah, it really is.
Diablo really lends itself to a mobile style game.
It does.
And it felt well, and I know it was a skin of some Chinese game, but frankly I didn't care. But it should not have been the headliner for Diablo.
For BlizzCon, a PC gaming convention. You don't headline. You don't preface the convention saying, "Hey, we've got multiple Diablo projects. By the way, here's a mobile game." But was it worth the wait?
I think it was, honestly. It was really, really fun to play. And in my opinion, because if you've seen those other games like League of Legends having their mobile versions and all that stuff, like having like Diablo as a mobile version, for me, that's pretty awesome and pretty fun. The way it felt smooth and very entertaining, in my opinion.
I mean, as someone who is not a huge Diablo fan, I feel like as all of us were or are, I was so excited by that cinematic to the point where I've started reading on more lore in the past week than I have in my entire Diablo career.
Honestly, oh god, if we're gonna get on that cinematic, Lilith can give me life in every way, shape, and form. Like, that was the most epic thing I've ever seen. Like,
incredible. 9 minutes that felt like 4.
It was just like, and there was points. Was I the only one who sat there and was like, what is this? Is this Diablo? And you're second guessing yourself, is this actually Diablo? And then it looked so well crafted and so well scripted. Like, it was at one point I thought it was like, Dead by Daylight, the way it looked. And I was like,
so dark. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's Diablo. That's what people like about it. As a kid, it terrified me.
Yeah.
So that cinematic gave me chills.
That's fantastic.
I think we've all kind of said, like, none of us went there with Diablo as our game. I've played so many action RPGs over my life, and I'm almost like, not ashamed, but like sad to say that as a hardcore Blizzard fan, Diablo is like low on the list of games that were relevant for me. I grew up playing Phantasy Star Online, and then I played I did play a lot of Diablo 3. But I completely missed Diablo 2 as a kid. And, as a little bit older, I played Borderlands 2 in college. I played a lot of Destiny when Destiny 2 came out. And I've always liked the, that kind of grind for that loot and getting those random stats and that action RPG style. It's always been very, very appealing to me. But I actually said this. We had a show that we just retired called Tilted Tavern. And, when we did our last episode of that, I said, if Diablo is just a new version of Diablo 3, basically, I don't think I'm going to care. It needs to be something new. I wanted an action, over the shoulder, like almost like Dark Souls or like Phantasy Star style, more like you're your character, like in this dungeon, and everything feels grander. I wanted that. And I was like, I'm not going to care enough. But D4, dude, I'm so sold. But like, I want to hear how you guys feel overall, being non-Diablo fans, going into this, seeing D4 as the opening ceremony, like opener.
I'm just gonna say like I said, I'm not a Diablo player, but when I was sitting there watching the trailer #1, I was like blown away. And then when I started watching the in-game content of it, I was like, wow, this sold me. And to be honest with you, I was a big WoW player, and I loved the concept of WoW, and I stopped playing it, and I'm like, looking at this, it's kind of like the same feel for me. I might and 100% pick it up. It looks beautiful, and I think the storyline is going to be intense, especially with like a female lead villain. That sounds freaking awesome, and she looks like so ominous, compared to what we're used to in Diablo.
It's actually funny that night, the first night of BlizzCon, Arano and I, we stayed together. We went back to the hotel and we were just Googling, like, okay, who the hell is Lilith? It's like, oh, she's the daughter of Mephisto. And then we're like, who the hell is this white guy that summoned her? And we couldn't figure that out, actually, which is still very compelling to me. That we were reading forums and people, like all these like mega Diablo nerds were like, oh, well, it could be this guy. And then people are like, no, this guy's too evil to be Rafam or some or the other. I don't know.
Yeah. I was just laughing. Oh, good.
No, you were laughing at.
No, I was just laughing at the fact that my best friend and I, because you're talking about what you guys were talking about. My best friend always goes, he always jokes. He goes, oh, I'm the devil. So he calls himself Diablo and heroes all the time. And I'm like, wait, so who's Lilith? And he goes, it's the best friend to Diablo. So that's you. And I'm like, so I'm Lilith? Cool. All right. I'll take it.
I like your dress.
Thanks. It's made out of blood or something.
whatever she went through.
Yeah, whatever that was. She got it off Amazon.
Yeah. I mean, Amazon can sell pretty much anything nowadays, so I believe it. So, Arano, what's the thing that stands out to you about this? If anything,
the open world that felt really cool, and we talked to this a little bit about this, but just how dark it actually seems like it's going to be, because there was a quest line where you think you saved someone and you get thanked for saving, and then all of a sudden things go south and that person dies, and the mom is sitting there crying over her dead child. And it was just, you never would have saw that in D3, and I was shocked by it, and it felt good. I'm not gonna lie, because that's what people want.
It feels good to not save the guy you're trying to save. It feels good to watch him puke up black oil and then keel over and die.
It feels good to not know what's coming and not be cookie cutter.
No, but I agree. Like that whole vibe, that whole feeling of just everything sucks. Everything is falling apart. The gates to heaven are closed. And holy fuck, this is terrible. I think that's what they're going for.
Yeah, please. Love it.
Mm-hmm. It was crazy. If you remember walking around BlizzCon, they actually had signs that were saying, like, this year's content is not meant for children. Go to this hall with your kids if you don't want them to see these cinematics. And I was like, before anything launched, I was like, well, what the hell are they showing this year? Like, it looks like intense, And then that cinematic played, and I was like, oh, okay. This is some really dark stuff for Diablo, And as a kid myself, I couldn't get into it. I had one of my best friend's brothers used to play Diablo 1, and it was terrifying to me. I was that kid who was like, this is so scary, I can't get into it, which is probably why I never did. But it was intense. It went to a dark side that we haven't seen in a while in this genre.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I mean, we got to play the druid, and the druid felt fluid and this great. There was only one spell I didn't like that he had, and it had to do with the wolves, but it was, everything else felt wonderful.
We're going to talk more about classes in just a minute, because we're going pretty deep on Diablo, but I want to talk a little bit more about the open world, because that's also my favorite part about the whole game and kind of what sold me on it. Because I mentioned over the years I've been playing Destiny, I've been playing Anthem, I've been playing Borderlands, I've been playing these games that I'm almost trying to find something to feel like a new community to me, the way that WoW does, because I've been playing WoW since pretty much day one, and nothing has felt like a cohesive experience ever. Part of that for me in Destiny 2, it's like little tiny planet, little tiny planet, little tiny planet. Everything feels like it's instanced. Everything feels like it's a piece and then another piece and then another piece. But the way they're executing this Diablo world, it's going to be one big open world map where you can mount up and ride from point A to point B if you so choose to not teleport, which of course is an option. Along the way, you'll see other players running around questing, but you're not going to see too many. In the panels, they really talk about how they're going to tailor each zone to have a certain player capacity. So it's not World of Warcraft where you're on a server and there's this many players. And if, right now we have layering in Classic, but there's this many players and you're going to run into players if you're in the same spot. They're going to put you into all these little instant servers, sure, but if there's a world boss, there's going to be way more players. And these are like world events that spawn. It notifies you on the map. You go to it, you fight a boss, you fight an event, whatever. Really fun, really good organic gameplay. I also want to point out the fact that, like, if you're saying, well, I want my own Diablo experience, guess what? When you play through the campaign, it is your own Diablo experience. Until you complete the campaign for that region that you're in, it's not open to other players. It's you doing your story, doing your thing, and basically once you beat it, you beat the boss or whatever, it unlocks the multiplayer component. And I guess the other critical thing to point out is that all dungeons will be, again, instanced. You go into a dungeon, it's a randomized dungeon, it's you and up to 3 other players, that classic Diablo experience. So all in all, in terms of gameplay, in terms of world, in terms of all of that, it is an MMO on the surface, and then below you get your classic Diablo experience. And I'm freaking way too happy about this. I did not expect someone to deliver, because I've been looking for this exact product that executes a system exactly like this for way too long.
I also couldn't believe they at one point showed the map and it wasn't filled in, but you just saw it and they just kept zooming out and they kept zooming out, and that map looked huge. And that just gets me so excited.
Oh, even when we played, we're in like this little tiny corner, and you could like go on the map, and it was all, fog of war, but monstrous. And man, they're showing the art right here. You got sands, you got snow, you got forest, you got like a castle that's been besieged and on fire. The different terrains, like something about world building is way too compelling to me. Like if I was ever to work in video games, I'd work in world building. That would be my passion, because I love the little detail. Yeah, exactly. Like I want to know the story of this place, and these devs are having the time of their lives making this game. You can tell it. I mean, you can see it in their work.
I feel like because my stream made me play Dragon Age, it kind of felt like that to me, a big kind of open world, but at a larger scale, where it's like it has this really like this terrain that's just absolutely beautiful and gorgeous, and it's just endless, it's limitless, and
it feels that way. Yeah,
there's no limits to it. Normally when you play games like this, like you can't do this, you can't do that, but this feels like you have almost every opportunity to explore as far as you want, as far as the map goes, which is great overall.
And it's remarkable because like they've still kept that map where there's a lot of terrain that isn't inaccessible the way Diablo has always been, right? But it absolutely does not look that way or feel that way. You can heroic leap from one point to the next, jumping, from a high ground to a low ground, and it feels like a piece of, the world isn't just a flat playing field, which in D3, honestly, sure, there were staircases and levels and stuff. It really did feel linear compared to what I've tasted in D4.
And it's not, I'm sure, going to be on the scale of like a Zelda Breath of the Wild, but like in Breath of the Wild, you look somewhere and you can say, "Hey, I want to go there."
Dude,
and
I don't know.
Got that feeling.
I mean, I see what you're saying in terms of like climbing mountains and stuff, but I think it will be pretty similar to that.
Just I want a heroic leap over there, and you do it.
Yeah.
Well, I love that they didn't add like a cop out of like a fog of war, or they filled in all the gaps. There's nothing that looks like, oh, it's like you can't go there, but we're not gonna like design that. We're gonna just like block it out. No, it's fully designed. You can see, which makes it just feel full overall, which is fantastic.
It's actually great. I guess one of the other really cool things, I forget the terminology they use, but within dungeons, you would go from like level 1, level 2, level 3. There's no more loading screens in dungeons. It's going to be a seamless transition from, basically one part to the next. And that's going to add on to the randomization of dungeons, because before it would just be like, okay, I'm in this weird temple and now I'm in a cave kind of thing. But it'll just gradually transfer into the different palette of whatever that dungeon is becoming. And I think they said it's going to be hundreds of dungeons where basically all of those dungeons will serve for late game. They're executing the late game in a key system where you get a key that has random affixes that basically gives you different challenges for that dungeon, and of course different difficulties for that dungeon. So the late game experience is going to be so varied and flexible and diverse. If it isn't obvious that I'm excited, holy crap, I'm excited. But we could do a whole show on Diablo, and we need to not do that because we'll revisit this and we'll revisit certain topics throughout the weeks. But let's just briefly talk about the classes. Ryan, you mentioned you played the Druid. You said you didn't like the Wolf ability, but the rest of the class, how'd you feel?
Well, I like the Wolf ability, like having them around, but then there was an ability to like power them up, and it didn't seem like it ever did much of anything.
I think it was more of you tell them to attack a target. It was a sick.
Either
it was
way,
like
they
sick.
weren't listening. So, but I mean, throwing that boulder and pushing around enemies felt great. I forget the name of like its ultimate, if you will, but where you cause that storm.
Might have been Cataclysm.
Yeah, that felt incredible and overpowered, but I guess as it should.
Well, it's like a minute cooldown. I mean, it's like it's your big spell, like.
The rushing through as the bear and just the pulverize as the bear, running in the middle of them and just turning into a bear form and slamming the ground and everything dying near you. It felt wonderful. That class design felt really good for as little as I got to see.
I'm pretty sure our good friend Matt Ferguson, who worked on Heroes of the Storm for a long time, designed the Druid. And I'm really sad that I did not get to actively talk to him at BlizzCon this year, because I usually do. But it was a very busy BlizzCon. But dude, it feels great. Vipe, did you get to play any of the classes?
I did not. I did get to play a little hands-on with mobile, but I did not get to play.
The line was long.
Yeah, and as much as I really wanted to, I was focused on other things that I just didn't have a chance to, unfortunately.
I mean, that's literally the story of BlizzCon. As it's grown every year to have so much content, like it's.
Yeah. I did though get to do the cool experience. They had that the castle. I think it was Leorc's. I don't know what it was. That experience in the back left corner. Lilith was there. It was
the sacrificial pit.
Yeah, I was definitely about that. I was definitely about that. That was a nice touch.
I also played the Druid when I played, and just the general takeaway. And again, this is not max level, but just the general comparison to Diablo 3. Diablo 3, especially as you progressed and got to later games, you gained a lot of movement speed, you gained a lot of attack speed, you gained a lot of just power. And it felt like it was very spammy, cast your abilities, run through stuff, really don't even pay attention too much to the red on the ground, the lava on the ground. You just kind of run through and you kill stuff. Immediately, I got a more sense of, acting, and actions mean consequence, and being very deliberate with every choice you make. Because a lot of the spells had a longer cooldown, and a lot of the spells felt more meaningful. Now, with the Druid, I assume it's a tank class. It's definitely a melee primarily class. You charge in as a bear. The bear is going to have all kinds of talents that gives you armor. So you're then the tank you're charging in. You have like swipes in wolf form, and it automatically transforms you when you use every ability. So you transition seamlessly. You have a bear stomp, which is kind of like your big AoE come hit me kind of thing. And then you have a boulder, which any spell puts you in human form. So you like cast your boulder to knock things away, or cast your cataclysm to summon the big AoE damage and help corral things. All in all, everything felt like very, again, deliberate. I'm going to go in bear form because I need to tank damage, right? Not just spam, kill. And it just felt really nice. And lastly, they added the dodge mechanic from Diablo 3 mobile. We had rolling, or Diablo 3, not mobile, but console. I played on Switch. Yeah. You could use the triggers to roll left or right. They made it so that you can dodge out of the way. It is a little bit clunkier, and I mean that in the best way possible, where it's not just part of your movement, but like there is a little bit of like a start and an end animation. So it's going to get you out of the way. It's a proper dodge. You're not going to run around town hopping around like a dingus. As much as I would love to do that, it is not designed for that.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. From what I've heard, I'm not a big Diablo player, but this is the first time they're bringing back the Druids class in a while.
Since D2.
Since D2.
Okay, yeah. So this is a huge thing for Diablo players. This is not only D4. You also bringing back the Druid that people are kind of like super hyped about.
Oh yeah,
overall. People wanted it as a DLC, and then they got Necro. I mean, people were happy for that, but it wasn't. Everyone wanted Druid.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So just kind of looking at classes in general, I don't know how many classes Diablo 2 had total. Amazon Druid.
I think it was
5. Sorceress.
5 the past 3 expansions. And then
but
they added 2.
D3 ended with 7, right?
Yeah.
But no Druid.
No Druid.
So we're starting with 5 in Diablo 4, which they've confirmed, and we know we're getting Barbarian. Was it 5 or 6? I think it was 5.
It's 5 starting, I'm pretty sure.
So we're getting Barbarian and Druid. So those are our melee. I don't think we'll get another melee beyond that. We're getting Sorceress, so that's our caster. I anticipate we'll get Demon Hunter back. I think that's fairly likely, but it could be Amazon. I mean, who knows? Amazon is another ranged, like physical DPS. But I really like the Demon Hunter fantasy personally because that's just kind of my jam. So I'm praying for that. And then the 5th will probably be another caster of sorts, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know if there's. I mean, could you properly launch an expansion like this without a Paladin Crusader?
I don't think so, honestly. That would make. I mean,
well,
D3 didn't have either at launch. Yeah.
Yeah. Crusader.
Considering that, so the Paladin wasn't in D3.
No, there's no Paladin, but Johanna Crusader was the first DLC. So the first DLC hero when they added Reaper of Souls.
The expansion, the Reaper.
Yeah, Reaper of Souls expansion. She was the added class.
Well, if the last time they saw a Paladin was D2, and likewise with the Druid, then might be the same kind of chain reaction. Never know. You heard it here first.
It's hard to say because you got Necro and wow, why am I space Nazeebo? What is Nazeebo? Witch Doctor.
Witch Doctor.
They're both like minion based type classes. So
yeah, summoners,
I think
right?
It's likely to have a minion based class as one of them because that's a very like specific play style.
I also feel like with how big it is, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to push like 10, 12 characters in this type of game to really like bring everything back to previous games.
Considering that considering that Diablo 4 might be like, because they haven't had one in a while, this might just be like the build off, kind of like the franchise of WoW style, where they build on it, they keep building on it, they kind of like give mini expansions to it. So that could be a great possible point that they might actually do that, considering how big the open world format is.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people talked about it a lot with D3 and hoping that it would happen, and then you got Necro, and then nothing until Immortal. So I think that also had to do back with.
There was a lot of rumors about D3 and about how there was an expansion that never got released they were working on, and how there was another class they were working on that never got released. They decided to just put their efforts into D4, which I think, obviously, after what we've seen, is great news. Now, what I can say about this without breaking any NDAs, I think over the years I've been to Blizzard's office many times, and where the Diablo area was always off limits for like the last 4 years. So like all that says to me is they've been hard at work for a long time. Might have been a small team. It could be something completely different than this. I have no idea. I have no insights as to what the dev cycle truly looks like. I just know that when we went on the tour, they just said, yeah, that part of the building, you can't go there.
I always laugh. I think, when we went for the summit, we went on a tour. Oh, I remember the Heroes area as well. And I always laugh because if you remember that the movie Matilda, when Miss Trunchbull comes and they flip all the stuff around, that's what I feel like happens whenever you go to Blizzard headquarters. It's like people are coming and they like everything gets covered up, and there's It's just a really funny experience when you walk in. There's like white walls that are just pulled down. You're like
sincerely, yeah. They literally like just drape it over. They're like, yeah, you can't see this.
And it's crazy. But they work really hard on these games. Like I feel like D4 had to have been along in the process, you know.
Oh,
and
definitely.
it was. I think it was worth the wait because the reaction it got at BlizzCon was just overwhelming.
I'm gonna say
it was
right
announced.
now, I went there with like no hopes for me being this, as my highlight. It's my highlight of the whole event, straight up, like by far the thing I'm most excited for. Business model, we'll just kind of close. Diablo thoughts on that? They did said they do intend to sell expansions down the line. It will be a game that you purchase. There will be no purchasing of power. They did not rule out cosmetics being a thing. I assume we'll be able to buy cosmetics. They did not mention a real money auction house. That was kind of a big debacle in Diablo 3. I do not anticipate that we will see a real money auction house again. Because Diablo 3, you could basically sell any legendary you got. They did clarify that the way that loot is going to work is there's going to be basically 3 different options. There will be loot that can be traded unlimited amount of times. There will be loot that can be traded one time. And so you can be the owner, use it. It's not BOP. It's you can trade it once. It's a little bit different. So you can use it for a year and then you can trade it. And then that person is the last possible owner. And then the last kind of loot is just exclusive. That is a BOP. You can never trade it. They're saying the best items in the game will not be something that you can trade and sell. So they're really going to reward the top players. They're not going to let people walk in and buy the best items in the game. To me, this deserves a huge round of applause. The crowd actually cheered thoroughly during the panel for that, and I think that is refreshing to hear.
Oh, I agree.
And especially after the disaster that was the real money auction house of D3.
Yeah. I made a lot of money on that in college, like $600. So I'll take it.
Well, in D2, it was all eBay. So they thought people were going to do it anyway. So might as well try to make some money off of it. And then it was just a disaster.
As a college student, it's very, very resourceful.
Don't go to class, but get the items and then sell it.
The dream, right?
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
maybe.
Why is your homework done this week, Jake? Well, I made $100 playing Diablo on this pretty sweet amulet.
Oh, okay. For tuition.
Someone's got it. You got to eat, right? All right. Fast segue and transition into Heroes of the Storm, the game where we all know each other's from, and of course, kind of where TownHall was born. Deathwing did get announced before BlizzCon, and he was playable at BlizzCon. We finally got our big deep dive. There's the sexy man himself, Kyle Dates.
Yes, that hair.
Vipey, how does he feel? Tell me about Deathwing.
Honestly, it is exactly what you think you should be feeling when you hear Deathwing. You just give zero about anyone around you. You are playing the World Breaker himself, and honestly, that's what you're doing. You are walking around as this giant dragon and not caring about anybody around you. It's insane. Honestly, I think they nailed the play style of this hero, with saying the least. Honestly,
what's the cooldown on the fly?
The cooldown on the fly, when you fly up, you have a 10-second to fly back down. It's a 2-3 second wind up, which I'm telling you is a long time, and that it feels like you're sitting there for hours. Yeah, it is just the craziest thing. So you're literally flying up, and then you have 10 seconds to fly back down. There are some cool talents where you actually can kind of minimize your time in the air, but sometimes they're not even worth pit taking because they're on a very strategic tier. But he feels crazy. There's a lot about him. How do you guys feel about him? Have you guys got to play with him a little bit at BlizzCon, or?
That is the one bit of content we did not do because I was like, well, he's going to be out soon, so I'll just play him at home. We have limited time to wait in these lines and play these games. But I'll be honest, like I'm kind of sad we didn't play it because He looks really fun. That was the other gripe I had. BlizzCon, you've done how many Heroes of the Storm events at BlizzCon? Just make it so we can all be Deathwing. That's why we're waiting in line. When one person gets to be, just give us an ARAM with 10 Deathwings. That's what we're there to do. I legitimately did not wait in line because I'm like, yo, if I don't get to play Deathwing, I'm going to be so salty when I have limited time and I have to get in line again. So, come on, Blizzard. That's why we're there. Don't force it on us, but let us do it. Let us be Deathwings.
The one thing I can say about it was that, if you weren't there at BlizzCon and you didn't see it, the Heroes of the Storm line was always packed, was over exceeding its queue, which is absolutely insane for what people think you would see for Heroes of the Storm, or what's perceived. In the arcade area, which by the way was 10 out of 10, the best thing I've ever seen.
Dude,
it was lit as a it was like if you wanted the cool ass basement to be in as a kid or as a young adult, that was it. There was a bar in there.
Two
there
bars.
Was Heroes of the
two bars.
It was like Diablo themed.
Yeah, it was.
Joey Ray's and split calf in.
Yep.
Slaughtered calf
in. That's it. Atmosphere is amazing. I didn't go in the theater. Did you guys check that out?
No, I didn't get to. There's so many things I didn't get to do. I'm telling you.
It was confusing because I thought you had to wait in line, but I think you could just walk in and out as you wanted. But we were there for looking at Heroes, and then we ended up going to get food instead. So we never went back down.
I can say that a brawl Deathwing would probably break the game. No pun intended.
I mean, let's be honest. That's what Deathwing should be doing.
Mm-hmm. It was funny. I was actually I got to play with AKA Brew, who is the I'm pretty positive. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was the artist designer who designed the model for Deathwing.
Oh.
And I had to play with him. It's Lashes, Kagiri, and Zach Selenity's significant other, and she was streaming. We had to verse her, and at one point when we were playing her, simultaneously, her and I lifted up and cataclysmed at the same time, and it was like this huge uproar, and you saw fire everywhere, and everyone was just like, oh! You couldn't tell what was happening. There was so much fire everywhere. I'm telling you, it was just he feels as epic as you would want to play Deathwing. It's just great.
And even listening to some of the QA, people are like, how are you going to buff other heroes' heroics to make them feel like they can match Deathwing? Dude, the answer to that is they're not supposed to. Deathwing is supposed to feel overbearing. He's supposed to feel like another level. They didn't want to add him to the game because he is, in the scale of power, he's just... He shatters a world, literally rips the world in half by going on a freaking joyride. He's not even care. He's just like, but I mean, that's literally World of Warcraft Cataclysm. That's the story of it. You're welcome. Now you know it. But he's really cool. He's really fun. The other big news for Heroes, before we even get to that news, opening ceremony. There, Jalen Brack's going through and he's doing for the Alliance, for the Horde. By the way, he's not Warhammer Metzen. That did hurt me, but he did an okay job. Back on track. He goes through StarCraft. He goes through everything. Heroes had a way bigger cheer in the Mythic Hall, the main hall, than Hearthstone or StarCraft. Now, Diablo fans were there in full power. Diablo had a loud roar. I was impressed. WoW has always been the biggest, but Heroes was right around Diablo's fan base. And I didn't expect it. I'm one of those guys that after HGC got canceled, I've been, I've played maybe 3 games of Heroes this year. But that's going to change because of the other update we're getting being anomalies.
I have to say on this one front, the only thing that probably, like I said, just like you said, I feel like this BlizzCon, at least for the Heroes community, felt so supportive on our side, on the fan side. They came through for it, even though it was kind of we all, after HGC, we all were kind of just at BlizzCon, you felt the hype, you felt that vibe. And I will say though, I just wish we had the moment to have that Deathwing announcement where everyone just goes, oh my God, that's amazing. Because that probably would have, with all the amount of things happening, that probably would have won a good award at BlizzCon from the fans to see that, Because that could have been that could have been some epic, moment where you're just like, remember when Sombor was released for Overwatch? She kind of took over the arena. That would have been awesome to see like red lights go everywhere and then Deathwing comes out and you're just like,
why do you do this to
here
me?
we are.
I hadn't once
I
stepped
like
back.
cry at night.
I haven't once stepped back and told myself, like, because I've taken myself out of being a Heroes of the Storm guy. I've had to, for my own health. I've had to just step away completely. But to think of that and the potential there, oh my God. Now I'm depressed. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because
I cry at night at this. This could have been so good.
It could have been. It deserves to be. The devs worked super hard on it, and he's sincerely amazing, but it turned into this. I remember even pre-BlizzCon when, you know, my whole perception of BlizzCon was like, Blizzard needs to win me back right now. Literally, that's my mentality going into BlizzCon. I had uninstalled Hearthstone the night before my flight because I needed room on my phone. Not even maliciously, but I needed room on my phone, and I said, get out of here. I'm not playing you. I'm going to play Runeterra. Like, that's Jake going into BlizzCon. Obviously, that might have changed a little bit since BlizzCon. But, yeah, man.
It's funny because, like, as much as everyone knows from if they've watched me, I love Orphea to death. She's almost level 100 for me. The year before, when Alexstrasza and Hanzo were released, the crowd got excited because you had Warcraft fans and you had Overwatch fans who just loved seeing these two legendary heroes go at it. And then, Orphea's announcement was like kind of cool because everyone was like, this is completely different, getting us our own poster child for the game. But then Deathwing would have been like, everyone, I don't care what you do, you know him. You know who he is.
Yeah.
But I can tell you.
I was actually, you're just mentioning Orphea, and I'm just thinking about this out loud. We saw the Orphea cinematic again, like kind of just on a screen in the arcade. And I was just like, if Heroes from the beginning had those kind of anime movies highlighting their own heroes and stuff like that, I think it would have generated a lot of hype. I just want more of it, I guess, is what I'm saying. Because that Orphea video is amazing. Like, it's so cool. Yeah. And you're right. If we had that for Deathwing, it's so cool.
But I can tell you, though, is that what you're looking for the team, because we all know the dev team very personal, most of us do, on a friend level, and I can tell you that just looking at Deathwing, looking at his animations, looking at the level they've taken this game, it's just light years. Like, look at him. Look how phenomenal that hero looks.
He's a thick
Even
boy.
The fire.
Well, look,
he is.
They did make a cinematic to show off Deathwing, Kappa.
Fire. Look, it's ultimate. But it's... Go ahead, Rana.
I was going to say, even just like in the panel, just hearing the questions, and every single person was like, thank you for everything you do. Keep making this game and stuff. It was really nice to hear, and I'm sure that Kyle and all the other developers really, really love to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, over the years, Blizzard devs have always said BlizzCon is a recharge. I mean, we're not going to talk about Blitzchung and all of that tonight. We will dive into that another time. There's just too much to discuss. But, like, yeah, that was weighing on a lot of employees, for sure. They have to go through this negative perception about their employer. And, while they're working their hearts out, making us content and making us, things in worlds that they grew up loving as much as we grew up loving. So it is what it is. But, like, yeah, I think this is a recharge a lot of these guys will benefit from.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, like most of us, when we go to BlizzCon, we leave BlizzCon going, wow, I have these ideas, this spark, this drive to do more.
Yeah, out the wazoo. It is so fueling.
And did you get to go to the panel by any chance? The Heroes panel?
I watched it after the fact.
Yeah, we watched it, yeah.
Like I said, there was so much to do. I couldn't get to everything, but I had a list of things I wanted to do. And walking into that panel, seeing the room, not an empty seat in the house, on the epic stage.
That's so hype.
I'm telling you. Like that,
And if you've never been to a BlizzCon, the Mythic stage is not something that you just go to because you're looking to sit down. Like, there are stages, like, where you're wandering the con and you might sit down at the back of Hearthstone. And those are not actual, like, fans there to watch Hearthstone. They're just looking to sit down because they want to rest their legs. The Mythic stage is out of the way. It is on the far end of the convention center, and you only go there if there's content that you're eager to watch. And if they truly feel, which you're right, I saw the crowd shots in the video, and they were, you could hear them cheering, and applauding. I mean, it shows that Heroes, while the esport is very much dead, and I hate to say it, but you kill HGC, the esport is absolutely dead. The game lives on. And I'm really pumped to see where it's going to go, especially with Anomalies. So Anomalies is the other big update. Every year at BlizzCon, there's some kind of big update that they bring to Heroes of the Storm. This year, they decided to take a slightly different approach with the concept of Anomalies. Anomalies are going to be persisting for 3 to 4 months. They will be... Well, we don't really know what the scope is going to be necessarily of what they are. But the first anomaly is, I think, all minions... Is it all minions drop experience globes? Meaning it's just like a health globe that when you walk near, it gets consumed and you get XP. Now, do the minions not give XP? Do you only get XP from the globes?
Okay, so think of it as like have you ever played Probius? Have you ever picked the turret build? They drop minerals after they die. And when Probius walks past them, the minerals go into Probius.
No, but what I'm asking is, do the minions still give XP from them dying? Is this doubling the XP? Or is the XP converted to just being the globe?
It's to help newer players realize you have to be there to soak. So it's like, you know how like when you're playing Abathur, you don't know if you're close enough to get the soak?
But clarify, there's no XP from the minion dying. You need to actually collect the globe. Right?
Yes. So it's hard to understand. It's not like an extra feature. It's just a visual. Get what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, if you're in radius to get the XP.
If I don't walk up to that, it's not a visual because I'm not collecting that. Whereas there used to be a max distance where I could soak a minion or get a last hit on a minion as Chromie with like a Sandblast or whatever, and I would get the XP. That no longer seems to be the case.
From what I've seen, that still works because I tested Lava Wave. Lava Wave still gets the XP.
Okay,
yep,
that's
Lava
very
Wave
weird.
soaks everything. They said that.
Yeah, so it's not adding an extra feature. It's adding a visual effect to show you that you are getting the XP. So when you're playing Abathur, if you hat a minion, you don't have to guess. And so on top of that, I think the only thing that does change with Abathur is that normally Abathur's hat only gets the XP if you're last hitting, which is weird for the abilities. If you're Abathur hatting a minion wave now, you automatically get the soak. So Abathur's soaking capabilities could potentially become insane because he'll actually be able to soak more visually now than before. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of a weird. Yeah. There's little tidbits. There's little nuances. Because I did do the group interview and ask a couple questions about it. There is a couple things that are going to be changed about it, but so what I heard, it's more of just a visual to show newer players that you have to be there to get this XP. You can't just walk away. It's kind of like giving you something. You go, ooh, piece of candy. I need this.
Is this
a way?
Is this the only anomaly? Is this like their big change? Because this seems pretty.
They're one of them.
Okay.
These are just things like the anomalies are like we understand are just going to be testing things that can be put in or taken out. So no one kind of goes like if the fan base across the board goes, we dislike this heavily. Yeah. They won't go, oh, we're gonna keep pushing it on you guys. Maybe it's good for you. They're just gonna go, okay, well, 90% of the fan base doesn't like it, so bye.
I thought it was a bold change to experience where you'd be able to really bully and win your lane, and so I was kind of excited about that, but now I'm like, oh,
yeah, I really thought that it was. I thought you couldn't.
So from what I understand, and make sure we're not getting it completely wrong, it is somewhat like that. So what the radius was of what you get it soaked from, that's closer. You have to be close enough to get the experience. So it is a lane bullying thing. You actually can zone them from getting it. So it's not instant if you're in the radius of them, if you get what I'm saying.
Okay.
You still have to be close enough, but you can, if you're getting Chromie last hits, you get the XP. It's
so
kind
the
of
last hit is your way of mitigating it. So there is a way to mitigate it with last hitting, but otherwise, okay, I like that. That's if that is how it is, where last hitting is relevant, and otherwise you need to be pretty close to the. Because I thought they said you need it's like a magnetized effect where it pulls to you.
It is. But there is, but from what I understand,
there's a secondary rule for last hitting. Okay,
yeah,
no,
there is
that's
some
great.
ability that will
that's
do
great.
that.
That's actually really good. If that is the case, then I think that could have a really compelling impact on the game, and that's always going to drive the power of solo laners of the draft to be higher and stuff. But I'm okay with that as long as we see interesting changes like that made to the game. I think that is very healthy.
From what I heard, that's what their goal was to make the solo lane feel less like when when you're in draft, even in the past, someone goes, "You're the solo lane," you kind of just go, "All right," like you're in the boring lane, you're just going to be going back and forth. But they want to make that lane feel more crucial than ever before.
Which
you
is
can't
fantastic.
just go,
You want
yeah, personally, yeah.
Yeah. And you want the jungle to feel relevant. I want to be able to, because it's always been a thing, and a lot of Heroes players don't even know this. And like you're saying, they're trying to make this a little bit more intuitive. But a lot of Heroes players don't understand that if I was to sneak up and steal the last hit on a Grave Golem on Cursed Hollow, that's a shitload of XP for my team. Like, just by getting that last hit. That's something that I guarantee you most Heroes players do not know. And there's a lot of little things like that. So I think pushing that and I don't want this to become Dota, because it's already too far away from that, where you have to last hit and you can deny creep and stuff like that. I don't want that. But I think creative ways towards making XP and stuff is definitely a really good direction for Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to really just make the game a little more visually compelling and friendlier to newer players of other genres. Because like you said, like there's things like on the temples. What is it? The Sky Temple. The last 4 hits of the objective gives you XP.
Yeah.
There's no visual indication to tell you that. But most people know.
Forget that all the time. They're like, it's just 4 shots. I'm going to walk away. It's like, no, you need to get that XP from completing the objective. And you're right. That is something where there's nowhere to ever tell you that. But yeah, no, that's a nice solution. I'm excited to see where that goes. Anything else in the Heroes world that has you just excited, or you just feeling good about BlizzCon overall?
I'm feeling good about it just by looking about what everyone thinks was going to happen and be so less hyped. Like, it just looked great. And on top of that, the Toys 2 event looks really amazing. We finally figured out where plushie Mephisto disappeared to, and you cannot forget that train. Did you see the train?
Yeah.
You did not see the train. By the look on your face, you did not see the train.
I actually listened to the panel while driving to work. So I heard them talk about it, where like you can link up, and just become part of the train. But I haven't seen it. I'll be honest.
It's absolutely hysterical, and I think it's funny. And I'm hoping that it has a feature to detach, because I'm terrified to see if someone drives me into a tower. But it looks really fun.
But I hear the idea is that you don't need to have it. So as long as someone mounts up, you can go over there and kind of mimic it.
I think you could probably dismount, but not like detach and still be mounted. Is kind of what I'm.
That's the way I would see it going.
You would just drop off and like be unmounted.
Yep.
But I don't think you can just turn into your own little caboose and roll around the map. I don't think you can do that. But maybe.
You never know. Stranger Things, giant dragon in the game now. So, I mean.
True.
But yeah, no, I'm excited for Heroes. I am. It looks like a good year for them.
For not having a main stage, appearance the way that we kind of would like, it actually is a pretty darn good BlizzCon for Heroes of the Storm. But we're going to shift over to Hearthstone. Hearthstone, has a few things. We're going to start off by we're not really going to talk about Descent of Dragons, because I'll be honest with you, I haven't read through the cards. I don't think there's really a lot we could chime in about that. But their new mode being a auto battler, inspired mode, which is Hearthstone Battlegrounds, really just kind of embracing the fact that literally auto battler games are the battle royales of card games, and they made their own version. It's quite different than TFT, Underlords, or Auto Chess in all the right ways. I'd say the general impression that I got first off was like they just kind of tacked it onto the end of their video. It was very weird. They're just like, by the way, we're Blizzard. we also made an auto battler. Here it is. Cool. And everyone was just like, oh, should we be excited? Like it wasn't like a get hype moment. It was just like, oh, we have this thing. It's here. Go play it. And Ryan's like, I want to try the new Hearthstone. I'm like, really? I don't know. Before
BlizzCon, I literally said my biggest wish is that they make an auto battle, and I had no expectation of it. And then they kind of threw it in there, like you said, and I wasn't sure if it was even that, so I had to try it.
So we're like walking around. This was day 2, I think, and like it was like the morning. I think it was like very early, and I was like,
yeah, I
don't know. And we like went in and walk in to meet. We were pressed. We were just able to skip the line, which is honestly, Blizzard, thank you so much. Like I'll make as much content as I can this year just for that press pass next year because holy crap, it is value. But we walk in and we saw Kent Eric Hagman, an old Heroes dev that's now working on, I don't even know what he's working on. He wouldn't tell me. He's like, haha, funny guy. When I asked him what game he's working on, which is, I guess means secrets, but he was working in the Hearthstone area, and we played, and he's like, what'd you think? I'm like, well, I got bodied. It's so different than TFT. The pacing is so different. I got bodied. Play again, got bodied again. And the reason I got bodied so bad is simply because the game is so much faster paced. There's no saving up for economy. There's no like long, just like hold up and, you know, save up to 50G, which really adds a long game duration. But the trade-off is, I think games are maybe 20, 25 minutes long versus instead of like 35, 45 minutes if you're getting a win. So that's great.
No, it felt wonderful. I mean, we had the conversation with Ken after, you know, as much as they try, you know, you still trying to learn things on the fly, and certain things that should make sense from playing other auto battlers did not in this, but like you can't do anything about it, even though they're telling me in my ear that I should combine 3 minions, and I ignore it and
why would you listen to
re-roll
that?
anyway. But I mean, I think it felt great. I love the fast pace. I love the economy, how it just refills every turn, so you can just spend if you want to, and then freeze at the last moment if you want to. I think it's just really simplified, and I love it.
Have you played it?
I honestly didn't get a chance to really get my hands on it, but from every person that I've ran into at BlizzCon this year, was honestly blown away by it. Like you said, they had the exact same feeling whenever it was kind of like, here, by the way, here's our auto battler, and everyone was like, wait, hello, what? You know, and then anyone who's actually played it was like, I had the time of my life playing that. It was really fun for everyone. And from what I heard too, if when you were getting to play it, actually you get everything, you get all the cards or all the assets you need to play.
Yeah, there's no barrier. There's no cost.
Yeah, which is gonna
so there's a barrier towards, but it's all progression, right?
Nope.
You have
There's
to
a
buy a
barrier
season
in
pass for that?
how many heroes you can pick in the beginning.
Okay, so but it's not actually preventing you from getting anything. It's giving you one less option per game.
Correct.
Which is not actually a barrier. It's a quality of life thing at that point.
Well, I mean,
it gives you
an advantage
theoretically to get what you want, but if the game's balanced properly, all heroes should have a pretty similar power.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the whole heroes thing because it actually feels okay. So one thing I got really hyped about in Dota Underlords, just kind of talking about the genre in particular, I've played a lot of Dota Underlords. They added 2 Underlords, which are like your heroes that you queue as. They have talents that you pick as you go, and it's really just kind of retaining the auto chess flavor while giving you a little bit less RNG and a little bit more flavor as to what your hero is. Hearthstone achieved that so much more effectively by doing their Hearthstone style classes with the heroes that exist and having the hero powers or the passive hero powers be part of your kit and part of your strategy and defining your play. And it works out very nicely because it affects everyone in the game and it influences the way that everyone is trying to play their cards. It encourages you to not just try to play demons every single game. If you like playing demons, but you grab a card that has plus to mechs every game, you're going to be like, all right, well, I guess I'm doing a mech game, guys. Let's give it a shot. And that all feels super good to me.
And I've been watching it a lot on streams because I haven't been able to play as much as I want to. But a lot of people literally saying, oh, I don't want to do a Murloc build. I don't want to do a Murloc build. Then they do a Murloc build, and they're like, wow, that was the most fun I've had in the game. So
exactly.
It really pushes you outside of your comfort zone. It's awesome.
They just did a really good job, too, about making it seem so familiar. So it wasn't like, you know, adding a completely different UI or look to it. It was basically just like Hearthstone and just a plug and play for people. It was not a very, you know, new format where everyone's like, oh, I don't know what to do now. And that's good.
I think one of the barrier of entries for like Underlords, for example, is there's all these alliances. The alliances are like knights, and knights make it so that your knights in every knight 1 block away from them take 15% less damage. Well, there's like 12 different alliances. And then as a new player, you've got to like read all of these different alliances, learn what they do, read every unit, what alliances they belong to, how to position them, and all of these things. And there's an absolute not massive, but it's a sizable barrier of entry. Whereas Hearthstone, it's just like beasts. Beasts like this card. This card does cool shit to beasts. Cool. I'm going to get that card because it works with beasts. And like, it's like, okay, beast. And you just slap a bunch of beast harmonies together and you've got a beast deck. And it's not like an alliance with one defined effect. Each card has its own effect, and there's harmonies that exist, which just like Hearthstone. So it is really nice, and it retains that kind of class identity that you get with all these games, but in its own flavor, and possibly a superior flavor. Too early to say.
I really, the one thing I do like, because the one thing that always kind of got me kind of offset from Hearthstone was that I didn't like 90% of Hearthstone was building decks. And with the auto battler, it literally you have an ever evolving board of minions that you don't have to build a deck. You kind of just, I think it's to go back to like the tavern to like select different minions that are and heroes that are going to be there at random. So you kind of get like that, instead of building something, you're kind of just like experimenting the entire time, which makes it more kind of like fluid and quick instead of like.
I mean, yeah, it's like the auto battlers in that regard, because that's how auto battlers work. And there are some things you'll be looking for, especially as you play. You'll learn more as to like, okay, I want this card because it's going to harmonize well with these other cards I have. But no, it's fun, it's fluid, and it's accessible. It's definitely something where every game you play, you learn something. And to me, that's the best kind of game. You queue up, you're like, whoa, that's how that works. And then you're looking forward to actually trying that out yourself.
Yeah, and the one thing that might be a drawback for some people, like Jake and I have played a lot of Hearthstone, as you have not, might be learning like what magnetic means and a lot of these other things. But that happens in any card game. But that'd be like the big hurdle, I would say, for you to jump in, is just learning what rush means, magnetic, and so on and so on.
Yeah, it's all. I mean, coming from an outsider's perspective, for someone who actually has never really played Hearthstone, like seriously, I always played it whenever I'm like on a vacation or have no access to a computer, for fun. It seems really actually like a very fun game mode to just kind of like play at ease without being a serious competitor. I mean, you can be serious at it, trust me, from what I've seen, but at the same time, it's not too hard to comprehend overall.
Like top four is all you have to make. It's not like you need to win to get your points. You get more points, obviously, but top four gets you points, and that's a huge thing for a lot of people too.
Yeah, you don't have to get first. Yeah.
Isn't there more incentives? I don't know if this is a Hearthstone thing. I remember seeing like something about like getting like gold cards from having multiple.
So if you get three of the same card, it gets upgraded to a gold version. This is something that comes straight from auto battlers, where that's a very common feat. You can even upgrade them to a third tier in the other games, but basically it's just going to give it better stats. So you can start out with a pretty weak card and make it a theoretically twice as strong card. My biggest gripe, and I'm not sure if this is good balance, bad balance, what it feels like a lot of the tier 1 cards, their level 2 version is never going to feel relevant, since the game is quite fast paced. So it's pretty much like the way the game works is you upgrade your tavern by spending gold. So around turn 3, you pretty much always want to upgrade your tavern to tier 2. Granted, I've played like 10 games, so these numbers, I might sound like a complete idiot, but this is what I've perceived. By the third round, you want to upgrade your tavern to be 2-star, and then the tavern's now offering you, it can offer you 1 level higher cards. It's not going to just offer you level 2 cards. It's still going to offer you level 1 cards, but it's going to offer you level 2 as well. And then a few turns later, you'll upgrade it again. Now it's going to be offering you level 3 cards. So you get to level 3 and it's like, okay, these minions are decent. They're like, their stats are pretty good. Then you're going to want to consider getting 3 of the same one, which again is RNG. Like it's not necessarily just going to happen. But if you can achieve that, that card might be super relevant and have a really cool combination. Like it might die and summon spiders or something, and then you have another card that buffs the spider's attack power, and that's when you're kind of flexing and building your strategy at that point and starting to figure out what you're trying to do. But Ryan, you want to talk about board positioning and how that works in the game?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, it's really cool. It attacks from left to right, so that even though it is RNG, there is a lot of control. And taunt works the same way. So no matter who it is, well, I guess some cards ignore it, but they left to right, starting with they attack taunt, and then it kind of moves down the board from there. And whenever like Death Rattle spawns a new minion, if they start on the left, you start with them. So it literally just kind of works like reading a book from left to right. And you alternate attacking, alternate defending, and that's where the RNG comes into play. But I don't think the RNG is nearly as bad as it is in Hearthstone. Obviously, everyone gets screwed over by it eventually, but for the most part, I feel like very rarely does that make or break your match.
It's weird because it doesn't feel bad at all.
No, it doesn't.
Like, nothing about the RNG. Like, every once in a while, I'm like, wow, I lost that round if this guy attacked this guy instead or whatever. But it's just kind of like, it's par for the course, and you just go on to the next round.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beautiful thing with these auto battlers is, like, I don't rage with them at all. Like, I don't know what it is, but there's something about them with the 8 players that really takes away that ladder anxiety, takes away that fear of losing, because there's 8 people. It's like, well, whatever. I'm one of 8. Like,
for me, like in the main game, I like you have those games where it's just like RNG is against you. This game is just stacked against you, or you swear it is. And any game that I've played or watched, I feel like the RNG is almost even, which is such a weird thing to say because that can't be possible. But it always feels like it balances out at one point or the other.
And you also have the opportunity to be in like top 4, like you said. So it also is like, I don't have to be number 1. I don't have to. It's not win or lose. It's be top 4, and you basically win.
Yeah.
So there's less stress of going. It's a yes or no answer. It's more of a there's a possibility that I could still be successful right now.
Well, mega props to the dev team too for launching the game with an actual point system. You started at 4,000 MMR. If you get a win, it's like 166 points. If you get at first place, if you get 8th place, you lose 166 points. And I think placing 4th is a positive 33. Placing 5th is a negative 33. Right? So it's like a very nice system where the better you play, the higher you advance. If you do okay, you might advance a little, or might fall a little. But it just, I mean, that's the format that all these games use, but not every game has launched a beta with that in place. And I think that's, I mean, looking at Underlords, that was a mistake to not have a proper ranking system before going live with their game, because that game hasn't really gone anywhere. We will definitely revisit Battlegrounds.
Also, sorry, just real fast. Props to the dev team because they said they took them 6 months to make that game, which is really impressive that they pumped that out in 6 months.
Yeah, it is.
And for being so smooth, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's not without faults. There's a bunch of UI problems, especially on mobile. It's pretty rough.
Let me sell from my hand.
But let me sell from my hand. Like, let me drag from the store directly onto the field, and stuff like that. But, that's we'll revisit Battlegrounds. Yeah. And I think eventually soon in Town Hall, we're going to do an auto battler episode where we jump into TFT. Maybe we'll get a top TFT personality. We got guys like Crowan that are playing the game for a living, that we know well, and we'll jump in and talk about Underlords and Battlegrounds and just kind of look at the ecosystem, because it went from being the top of the world to being
maybe
not at all the top of the world very fast. It just felt like it was, had its hot moment, and will that be the case with Battlegrounds for Hearthstone? Possibly. We'll see. We're going to talk about World of Warcraft Shadowlands next. The cinematic, I think we can all agree, made
surprised us.
My pants way too tight.
Oh my god, it was intense. It was like that was a lot to handle.
I thought she was going to put the helmet on.
Spoilers.
There. Yeah. Well, if you have not seen that cinematic, you are a bad fan. Get out of this. No, I can't.
As he starts to show it.
As he starts showing it. Well, here you guys go. Cinematic time. It just was so like the way they positioned it. No one expected her to do what she did. Like, not at all.
We were sitting next to each other, and we were just like, she's gonna put it on. She's gonna put it on. She's gonna put it on.
I mean, there were some people that were like, I would have loved to have seen a Lich Queen, and some people were like, I would have loved to have not ever have thought that. Like, you know,
there was so many rumors leading up into the cinematic for like a year plus, talking about Sylvanas, gathering the shards of Frostmourne, Sylvanas, working with the spirit healer people, Valkyries,
the Valkyrie, yeah.
And all this stuff, and how she's looking for more power and yada yada. And obviously we know how Sylvanas comes to be in Warcraft 3. Arthas kills her, brings her back to life. She was originally a high elf, and now she becomes, she's basically the queen of the Forsaken, or the Banshee queen. And for her to get revenge on the mantle of the Lich King makes perfect sense. But yeah, that twist of her breaking the helmet and does the helmet have a name?
It's
literally Lich crown or something, but
the crown of the Lich King.
Yeah,
no,
the ice crown.
No, it's ice crown.
I'm a lore junkie, so I should know this. I'm a baddie. The Helm of Damnation.
There it is. Okay,
let's go with that.
Nice.
Thank you, Professor. I can just say there was so many feels coming through this, and I was sitting in the audience, and like 4 people around me were like, "Oh my god, she's gonna kill Arthas," and I'm like, "It's not Arthas." I'm like, "It's not Arthas, stop it!" And they're like, "Who is it?" And I'm like, "Oh my god."
My wife like kind of knows the lore. She's like, I thought Arthas was dead. This guy looks just like Arthas. I'm like, it's his armor. God,
waifu.
Wolfar is not dead though. They said he's gonna show up in this expansion. So
she's like, what's crazy is like the whole premise behind her story is just, it could have went so many different ways in the cinematic, and it was so unexpected for her to do basically that. She released, which the crazy part is, she released every soul that was contained, because Frostmourne contained souls, but so did the Helm. So it's kind of like she released a lot of, his power overall, So it's just...
Yeah, Ner'zhul. I'm curious to see if anything happens with him. So
Ner'zhul, yeah, I don't know. I know so little about his background. He's just an orc warlock that is trapped inside and is apparently or shaman, but yeah,
shaman.
Apparently very, very powerful.
They honestly, like, this is so unexpected. I will personally, I will just say that, like, I feel like a lot of her skill sets or animation skill sets in a lot of the cinematics coming recent are based off of heroes, because like a lot of her stuff is hero-esque that you see, like her banshee wail and everything. It's kind of like it was built from that. So, but
yeah, the arrows.
It's just crazy, and everyone was saying, wow, she has so much power, look how much power they're giving her. And I'm like, she has gathered a lot of resources over the years to get her revenge that she wanted, and you thought she was done when Arthas was defeated. But
well, the thing is like, she's never stopped seeking power, whereas like a lot of the other heroes are just kind of like trying to lead their army, trying to get through this shit, and she has constantly been looking for ways to gain more and more and more power, as far as I've perceived it, at least, because she seems so thirsty for that vengeance, for
lore. Like, and if that one cinematic when she burned Teldrassil, she was mentioned that she has made life her enemy, because after Arthas was defeated, she should have been cool, I'm settled, but she was never released, as she's been trapped in this eternal life, but she's also dying at the same time.
The world is, this
herself.
Whole world is a prison. That's her line, right?
Yeah, that's her claim to fame. Yeah, what joy is there in this curse? Like, she literally is trapped, and she wants to take everyone with her. She is miserable beyond all reason, and she is doing anything to make people suffer the way she has suffered.
Ryan, when she tries to kill herself, where is that?
Right here.
Ice Crown.
Ice Crown. She tries to throw herself off the edge, and then that's where she makes the pact with right after Lich King, between Arcata. Also, Jake, sorry, just real fast. That tower in Shadowlands is not a mirror of ICC. just as an FYI, because we did have that conversation.
Mm.
So it's not like what we thought it was going to be.
It's not the Upside Down.
No,
So it's not Stranger Things. So there's no Demogorgons.
I won't get into the spoilers of what it is, but it is not icy.
I'm almost positive her intention with trying to kill herself was because once Arthas was defeated, a lot of the souls trapped in Frostmourne were released. So everyone was done being tormented. She was the only one that was not, because she was turned into a banshee. So she's eternal for the most part. And then now, like Mage said in chat, she is trying everything she really can. She is literally trying to stay alive any way she can with the Valkyrie. She's just attempting. She tried to do it, and then I think Greymane spoils that whole entire opportunity for her.
Oh, that's right. I remember that whole quest line and going through that shit. He like shatters some vial on the ground or something.
The lantern, the lantern of something. It was, she wanted to control the head of the Valkyrie, and if she did, she would have been eternal. And he ruined it for her, for Liam. So,
wow, he absolutely hates her. So,
oh yeah, I mean, it's just epic. I mean, I don't want to see her become a world boss, but I feel like she's going that route. She kind of looks like she's going to be, especially by the end of, I think the end of this trailer, it shows her with the
jailer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's gonna be kind of, and I like a dark expansion. So
we don't know a lot about the jailer.
I'm so excited for I'm gonna call it Ravenloft, but that's not it. Whatever that version of that D&D zone is, the one with the Raven Lords and stuff like that it looks.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, everything here is just like beautiful. I mean, I was always been very good at making, zones and creative worlds and everything, but this actually feels very like Fae, which is like weird to say that something in World of Warcraft is like Faean, because you think we've got fairy dragons and all kinds of things like that, but this has a cohesive vibe to me that feels kind of like old fantasy, but it's like almost like fairy tale fantasy.
I'm just I'm like, I mean, the zones themselves just look fantastic. Like here we are, that she is right there, kind of with the jailer. It just seems kind of like the zones themselves look amazing. I'm just concerned of the gameplay style. I've always really wanted just something more than just like here's this epic item, level it up, grind for it. So I'm looking for more depth.
The one thing, I mean, I don't know a lot, and Ryan might know more than me because I haven't watched every Shadowlands panel. But the one thing that they did say is they've learned from Classic. And Classic is like, if you've never played World of Warcraft Classic, it's like your classic D&D experience where everything's a little bit, I wouldn't say more sluggish, but everything's a little bit more deliberate. And over the years, they've made things faster, a little bit more spammy, a little bit more accessible. They've taken away like hunters, they've taken away a lot of things that added depth to it. And they've just kind of said like, okay, you don't have all these different auras. You have these spells that have a specific use. Like Cheetah is your retreat rather than a constant movement speed buff. They took away poisons from rogues. They took away totems from shamans. And they're giving poisons back to rogues. That's a key component to that fantasy. They're giving totems back to shamans. And that's a really good step in the right direction. And for them to say, hey, we're learning from Classic, we're learning from our roots, that gives me a lot of hope. But Ryan, do you watch the panel? Do they talk anything about like more specifics beyond that? Or is it very just kind of like, yeah?
They very much said that they learned from Legion and BFA. There's not going to be like a ring that you power up or a necklace that you power up. No artifact power. They want to get away from that.
Thank God.
Yeah, and they seem to be learning. And I mean, it feels a lot like almost like every other expansion is a filler to get to the good expansion, because that's what happened with Warlords before Legion. And then they even said like BFA was, or not BFA, Warlords was like kind of like a filler to get to Legion. They had been working on Legion almost before they started working on Warlords.
Wow.
So I'm really hoping that BFA is kind of that filler. As much as I had fun leveling in BFA, I love the fact that there's no longer, you can't pick whatever zone you want to go to. There's a cohesive storyline. Once you have your first level 60, when you go back, then you can pick wherever you want to go.
Wait, so how does it determine what zone you go to?
They have a story. They have a singular
Oh,
story.
whoa,
that you have
whoa,
to
whoa,
follow.
I see. I thought you were saying it would be different for some players. So it's predetermined.
Correct. And then once you have a level 60 though, and you go to level your alt, you get to pick your covenant right away, and you get to go whatever zone you want it to.
That's a really good solution because that is something that made it tough for me to. I mean, as much as I like the freedom to like fly around everywhere, it made it tough for me to care about the narrative.
Absolutely.
When I was just flopping around doing a little bit of a quest line, then they're like, I'm gonna go check out over here, and then it's like, oh, cool,
Absolutely.
this is totally
You
different.
don't even want to finish the zone. It's
I
like, why
don't.
bother?
I don't. Yeah. So that's cool. That is good to hear.
I feel like it also kind of like also condenses the player base into an area where you will feel like you're actually in a place where you can be like, hey, let's group up. Hey, let's do this. Getting back to the old school classic feels as well, which people missed, you know. And I do like the in the past in live servers they've been doing kind of like reducing flying, you know, mounts, which is great until later on, much later on. That way, kind of has that continuous vibe, you know, because when they allowed you to pick any zone, it was kind of hard to follow a storyline, and you'd be like, someone would go, "Oh, did you see this?" And you go, "No, I
Yeah.
didn't,"
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
there was no reason to go back.
It takes away from that social aspect of during grinding and stuff, which
And even right at launch, you're leveling on 2 different continents, so it's like, why not have war mode on? Whereas now there's going to be consequences if you want war mode. I mean, we all have our opinions on war mode. I know
I hate
Jake
it.
and I are a little more on the
I hate it.
turn it on, you fill in the blank. But like, that's going to be great because everyone's going to be starting in the same zone. You're going to have your horde in your alliance area. I'm really surprised they didn't get rid of factions. I really thought they were going to.
Yeah, I did too, especially after that
I love it.
cinematic with Anduin and
Yeah, no, I thought they were going to get rid of factions, and I'm happy that they didn't because it's World of Warcraft. That's what it is.
Did they talk about in the panel? I didn't see the panel. Did they talk about what's going on with the world leaders of the Horde? Like, because they're
No.
kind of like,
we don't know yet.
no,
We don't know yet.
I feel like it'd be really cool. I can't wait to see what they do with that.
That'll be a cinematic they release like when they're ready for pre-order, when they're getting closer to launch to build hype.
Yeah. I'm like super excited just to see, like, just to like have that moment, because I mean, sorry to all you Horde players, like the alliance seems pretty solidified with who they're. The Horde's kind of like, who wants to do the next round?
Wow, this isn't all Alliance podcast. Would you look at that?
Oh wow, what in the world?
Yeah.
This Strawberry actually just said the PvP thing is more for Alliance, and man, I hate to hear that. I hate people to say stuff like that because I will slay 6 Horde by myself. I don't care what I have to do if they're outpopulating me. I will fight through. I mean, that's been my classic experience. I am severely overpopulated on Horde in our server, and I love the challenge. I love the reverse ganking a 60 mage when I'm a 58 hunter fighting a 60 mob. I don't care. I'll kill you. Feels great, by the way.
Yep. I will throw fireballs this way and that way at the same time. I don't care. I honestly, I can't wait. I do. I mean, as a Lord Runner game, I really love high elves. So getting void elves was close as I can ever get to it.
Did we just become best friends?
I think we did. I always laugh.
I've been asking for Alaria Windrunner in Heroes for a long. Like, you can ask Kyle. Like, years ago at Gamescom, we built her entire kit. We sat down. I said, "This is what I want." He riffed on it, and we built her entire kit. And it sounded so exciting to me. Like, I've probably told this story on stream before, and I'm not going to tell it right now. But anyways, yes, high elves. I play Void Elf. That's actually my main and BFF.
Mm-hmm. That literally is like, and it was so funny. I think when we were being selected for the heroes, all called arms, I was asked, "Are you Horde or Alliance?" And I went, "I'm a high elf." Like, that's all I said.
That's
because
great.
like they're kind of just like, they're a little bit of just there. They're more towards the Alliance, you know, but like they're high elves.
Well,
and
the Windrunners were like a big family for the Alliance. And
yes,
they were. I guess
so.
Alaria's still around, even though she's like technically a void elf, but not really. She's still a high elf.
What I honestly love what they did with her. I was so worried when I kind of got wind of what was going on with, like, that. I was like, oh man, but she's awesome. So I'm all about it. And I want to see. That's another thing too. Like, to see what happens with the Windrunner family now that Sylvanas is like gone AWOL. You know, like it's kind of like, I mean, she's already been AWOL, but you know,
it is compelling. Ilaria also no longer has the Windrunner bow though, because they made that a artifact weapon. So like all these like legacy weapons like Doomhammer and the Windrunner bow, they're all like not in the hands of the original owners, which personally I despise.
I was gonna say the same thing,
I
but
hated the artifact weapons. I hate that they did that. I hate that they had to make a cinematic where Thrall had a different weapon that isn't his Doomhammer. Like, give them back. Give them, but they're all shattered, right? They were all those weapons were destroyed to save Azeroth from the big demon Sargeras' sword. Like,
that's the one thing too. When that like it's kind of like the same factor of like the Blades of Azenon. Like I was like when the Demon Hunters got, I forget who's Warglaives. I was like, okay, everyone gets these iconic things, and we're getting like, you know, like the Walmart brand, like as Demon Hunters. But you know, it was really I didn't like that. I think like artifact weapons to me was like, oh man, like I want these to be in the actual, you know, they're supposed to be untouchable things you can't access.
That's always been my perception.
Yeah, so but we're, you know,
oh well,
it's done. It's a thing.
I know a lot of people loved it, right? A lot of people love being able to wield it because they're dumb, but that's okay.
I'm not gonna say that, but you know,
it was a wonderful idea.
We'll way be the good cop.
After all these years of you killing demon after god after old god, it only made sense that you had to get something so powerful, because that's literally what we became, our heroes. We weren't the soldiers on the field anymore, and we were going to fight Sargeras. You had to give them something other than, I understand as far as like the gameplay and not getting that weapon because that feels so good, I understand that, but as far as a lore nerd as myself is, I thought it was really clever because you needed to have something to show off that power, and that was a wonderful way of doing it,
I guess. Slightly off topic, what would get me sincerely excited about weapons, because I'm a loot whore. I love loot, and for
That's
me,
an understatement, by the way.
it's, oh my god, I mean, I'm a hunter main. It's all my loot, by the way. It's not yours, it's mine. All the big moments and all my favorite moments in any kind of RPG has always been getting that new weapon, getting Rock Dalar for the first time, getting Zinrock, Destroyer of the Worlds, getting all of these badass weapons that look and feel amazing to wield. And when you're just handed that iconic weapon, it's like, okay, well, this is my end game. I'm just going to make it stronger. There's no satisfaction unlocking the different styles. I mean, I'm not playing a mobile game. I'm not playing, you know, Farmville, where I'm just trying to get the prettier chickens that are rainbow colored. Like, I don't care about that. I need it to feel like a big moment, and I want to show it off. I don't like transmogging for the same reason. I think transmogging is cool, but I think transmogging should be more of like I'm in town. This is my going out to dinner outfit. I'm going to slay monsters. I think that should be gear that you wear with pride because you've earned it and it's badass. And that's big part of why I prefer classic. But riffing on this, I would love for them, almost akin to what card games do, re-release a card. You know, they'll say, all right, Birds of Paradise, great Magic card. They re-release it years later. Give me a Rock Dalar again. Give me Rock Dalar in the new expansion. A level up Rock Dalar that's been, I don't know, it's just up to speed. Like, that hasn't been a relevant item since Classic. Don't be afraid to rehash this. They've never done that again, where it's a melee and a ranged weapon. That would be super cool. You know, Hand of Ragnaros, make it a relevant item again, if it makes sense. That kind of content I would love, personally.
I agree.
I mean, speaking of loot and lack thereof, we should go into our next topic.
I told you guys it wouldn't be more than an hour and a half show, and here we are, an hour and 42 minutes in.
Lies,
I'm sorry.
lies.
A lot of things to talk about, and I'm just damn happy to be podcasting again. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. We're not done yet. We're going to jump into Overwatch 2 as our final topic of the night. Overwatch 2, probably the most confusing Blizzard announcement to ever come out. what does it mean to be a sequel? Well, Jeff Kaplan felt the need to clarify this when he came out on stage. All this did was further confuse me. I don't know how you guys felt.
We know so little, yet so much, and so little at the same time. It's unfortunately something we're just gonna have to be patient about till we really find out. But I don't know.
When I saw first off, I saw Winston opening the cinematic, and I was like, oh, it looks like Winston. But then you saw like May, and you saw Tracer, and you saw their character models in the cinematic, and their outfits look very nice. And at first, I couldn't figure out. I'm like, are we going back in time? I
had the same thought. I was like, what is the timeline?
Yeah, I'm like, where are we? And from what I understand, we're in the future at this point. This is like kind of advanced. Because I saw Brigitte, and I was like, all right, Brigitte's here. Like, we have to be in the future because she's not like 5. So overall, it's
just to break that down. Overwatch 1 is not an actual timeline. Overwatch 1 is these are all characters of Overwatch. And why am I blanking on the names of the bad guys? Not Cobra. No,
the Omnics?
No, not the Omnics. The group that Reaper's from.
Talon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They're all members of Talon in Overwatch that have existed at various points in time. There is no timeline. There's no story. It is literally just a thing. The cinematics that they've given us over the years to give us narrative have happened at various points in time, not point A to point B, but over the years. Like Bastion waking up after the initial Omnic crisis is way after when Widowmaker assassinates that dude, which is kind of like the beginning of the Omnic crisis, as far as I understand it. That weird Omnic priest guy, not Zenyatta, but like a different one. And there are characters that are, as far as I understand, in Overwatch 2 that would have been dead at this point. And like, I'm curious because Brigitte is actually the daughter of Torbjorn, but where's Torbjorn? Is he dead? I don't know. He's not here. She's hanging out with her dad's friend Reinhardt, who is quite old.
Mentor.
And mentor, but he's quite old.
And for some reason, he has like this samurai hairstyle. I was very confused by this because I don't know. I personally loved the cinematic. I don't think anyone can sit here and go they didn't like it. It was just like it was just so unclear what it was when we first looked at it. It's like it's an expansion pack to a game that is primarily just a first-person competitive shooter.
But it's not even an expansion pack, it's an actual sequel, but it seems like an expansion pack. So that's why it's all very confusing. This should be an expansion pack, but they're selling it as Overwatch 2 because it is a new engine and it does look better. It looks a little bit less cartoony. Actually, Ryan, you're the one that pointed that out. I'm like, I can't tell why I like the way, because we played the demo. I'm like, I don't know why I like the way this looks and feels so much more. Because it looks the same almost, but it actually is way better at the same time. And it's nice.
It really is, honestly. When I was playing did you guys play the PvE or the PvP version?
We did the PvE.
All right, the PvE was, I will tell you, that was hella fun to play. You all can agree. It was just like really entertaining. The cutscenes were great. Like I'm a big UI fan, so like the fact that they actually had this really, I always loved the clean UI of Overwatch, but they made it even cleaner.
I know. I said the same thing. Like
I was like, oh my god, this looks amazing.
It looks really nice, and it's a small little things like that just kind of make it feel good. But even like the character models, Genji with the hoodie, Tracer looks way prettier. Tracer is like got like a sharper jawline. She looks way prettier. May looks prettier. Like Winston looks hot AF.
10 out of 10 would swipe right. Like I mean, it was just to a point too. Like they had the only one that I think that is getting heat right now is Mercy's I need a manager haircut. But it's just,
does she
overall
age? She's like fully
She's
grown in the picture where Reinhardt's young, and then she looks the same here. So I'm very confused about her.
She's the Jennifer Aniston of this game. She does not age. She is gonna stay the same forever. It was just like watching this right now. It's just you couldn't figure out where the heck you were in the timeline until like Genji came in and you were like, oh, he's in a hoodie. Like, what's going on? It just kind of came together slowly.
So when you play the first mission, this is kind of like their way of putting you into the story. It's literally the first Overwatch cinematic we ever got. They hit Winston presses the recall button. That's the moment before this happens, really. They go in, they kind of reform, they fight, and then you end up meeting Lucio in that mission that we play as. And Lucio is a new hero that is not part of Overwatch, right? So he's like, I thought Overwatch had disbanded. He knows who you are. They don't know who he is. You're playing as Lucio, Tracer, who's the heals? May and Lucio's the heals.
Reinhardt?
And
Yeah,
Reinhardt, yeah. And you're forced into those 4 characters. This is a story mission. The whole point is to, give you that narrative of Lucio joining Overwatch and the Omnic crisis in whichever city that is.
Rio de Janeiro.
No, that was Paris. This one's Paris.
This one's Paris. The other one is Rio.
Yeah.
The mission.
Lucio's hometown. Yeah. Honestly,
it was good. We only got a small taste at BlizzCon, but I liked that small taste.
It really personally, I think the graphics in this is like what I live for. Honestly, the entire thing of it, if anything I'm hyped about, it was just the way it looked. It just looked so. I always thought Overwatch looked really, really nice.
It's very Disney. It's very smooth. It's very like universal. Everyone can enjoy it.
Oh yeah. And I think the storyline is cool. Like they kind of advance the Omnics to these kind of like, I don't know, Autobot style. Like they're very, very more than just like slow moving robots. They're advanced. They have advanced themselves to a serious crisis. Yeah. So it kind of gave. Right now. Yeah.
I'm sure they'll still have turret ones like Bastion and stuff. I'm sure they'll still have those because those were Omnics. I mean, I actually knew a little bit about the original Omnic lore. They were pretty diverse. A lot of different roles and very specific, tools that were built for war.
Yeah. There goes Genji. It literally just like overall, I think it's pretty great. And they even said before at BlizzCon, they were saying they are going to upgrade the old skins to match this new Overwatch 2, which from what I understand, someone did a breakdown of it. And when you purchase Overwatch 2, or if you don't purchase Overwatch 2 and you're playing still original Overwatch, you are getting all the visual upgrades. You're just not getting the PvE content.
You're even getting the push.
Yes. You're getting the push and the new maps as well. So for most people who are like, oh man, well, I feel forced to buy this game now again, you're not, because you can still play the original game. But if most people have been literally like myself have been just begging for PvE content, storyline, because these characters are so well written to not have it, So
let's just kind of like rewind really quick, because like you're saying that people want PvE content. You're saying this. We were talking about the criticism that they're calling this Overwatch 2. Why is it 2? Why is it 2? Why is it 2? Regardless of the fact that the whole messaging was very confusing, the fact of the matter is Blizzard went out of their way to make sure they did not hemorrhage their player base and make sure they did not force anyone to buy this game. If your only desire is to continue playing multiplayer PvP Overwatch, you're literally going to be able to play with all your friends in Overwatch 2. Both clients are compatible. The servers are going to be online. You get the all new hero releases continue to be free, even though they're coming out on the new game. They come out in your game, new skins, all of that. I don't know if that means they're like have to develop the skin twice for each game because the engine's slightly different. I have no idea what that means for them, or if there'll be exclusive skins, because that probably wouldn't work. But the fact that Blizzard forced themselves to make sure they didn't, because every Call of Duty game comes out, new game, everyone has to buy it, hemorrhages the player bases. You got people playing Black Ops, you got people playing Modern Warfare, and that's how it's been in the industry forever. And with Overwatch 2, yes, we're getting a lot of new content, but really they're selling us PvE, and I'm all for it. If it's going to help them monetize the game and it's going to give us PvE content and story.
I just want a game that's 75% Left 4 Dead. That's all I want. And I will play it 1,000 hours.
I mean, and from what the cool part about this too, from what I understand, is that you can play these story modes with your friends too.
Yes, you can.
So unlike
Up to
any
4
other,
people.
yeah, and up to any other like campaign mode, you're kind of just playing solo. And I personally do not like playing games on myself. So like it comes to a point where that's a really cool move to go. Great, we can kind of like join up and do these things. The one thing I didn't watch the panel of what's next, so I don't maybe it's a thing. But I'm sitting there going, are they still going to do these little tiny events that they normally do in Overwatch for the original game?
Yeah,
And they are. Okay. Because I was like sitting there, I'm like, well, if they're putting a lot of effort
Christmas
into
and
these
stuff?
campaigns.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like they have like those miniature stories. Like they have like the Omnic Crisis story, like for the.
I would
Frankenstein
imagine
one.
they would still be there and even further.
They'll probably just rehash them, kind of like how they have been.
Yeah. It's gonna be really cool, and the fact that they're actually also expanding their maps they've already created to give you that you can actually explore more of the area in the campaign modes that they want to kind of produce. It's kind of a cool thing to think about, like because you're on a map and you go, man, I want to go over there, and you can't. Like oh my god, seriously. Ugh. If you've ever done the custom map in Blizzard World, you fly around to the other areas. It's really funny, but it's really fun. But I think it looks great, and the cool talent feature is really kind of nice, actually. It's interesting. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it, but it's for the
felt lackluster to me.
Yeah, I didn't fully understand it because like I played Tracer every time in every PvE match, and there was that the one talent you have to pick was like a secondary pulse bomb goes off after the first pulse bomb, and I was like level 20. Oh, here's a storm, and I did it, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's gonna explode again, and I was like, where is it? I didn't see anything happen.
Oh, it works, dude. It works well. It's actually super busted.
Did it?
They just have to be very close to each other.
Okay.
The explosion radius has to hit, and it's super strong. But the entire like just kind of like if you're not super up to speed on Overwatch, the PvE content is there's story missions. There's gonna be like I don't know if they're randomly generated, but there's gonna be like just random hyper replayable missions that are not part of the story. It's going to be something different. I assume they're randomly generated, but I really don't know. But there is something separate from the story missions. And then there is the fact that you level up your characters as you play. So we're talking about these pulse bombs that multiply. That is basically a talent. There's like 8 talents you can get per character. So say you level up your character 10 times or something. Maybe there's 10 talents, you level up your character to level 10. That's the maximum. You move on to another character. That is the only progression that exists. When you're doing it right. So here's the thing. If you don't know Overwatch's history, Overwatch comes from a game called Project Titan. Project Titan was going to be an FPS MMO that Blizzard scrapped. They salvaged and made Overwatch. There's a documentary called Making Titan or... There's a documentary called Something Titan. Just search Overwatch Titan documentary. It's done by GameSpot. It's really compelling. Chris Metzen talks in it. It's about basically Blizzard. And this is Metzen's like last thing he ever gave us. He's a god. And he went through this really hard, struggle of like, we failed. Are we an MMO company? Like, is this what we're supposed to do? Obviously, Overwatch has been a big success. So they're kind of going backwards. They're kind of going back to what Titan was with this expansion, giving us PvE content. Now, obviously, I am a huge fan of open worlds. I talked about this in Diablo. I have this hunger for like an actual open world where I can run around everywhere and do everything. We're not going to get that. But they've even put loot boxes in the events where you find items. That item that you pick up is an additional power that you're getting on a cooldown that you don't keep. You're not getting loot. You're not farming loot for your character because you're a Tracer. But it's something that's going to help give you more definition for your playstyle in that run. It could be like grenades. It could be like smoke bombs. It could be like a healing circle. What's up?
Did you see the Easter egg in that?
No.
That's Heroes of the Storm.
Oh, the loot box shape?
It's the loot boxes. Yeah, whenever you did camps, there was loot boxes, and the loot box opened up, and you got a turret, you got a heal item.
Yeah, I kind of like noticed that vibe, but I wasn't sure if it was specifically supposed to be heroes.
I don't think it was, but my nature, I was
certainly felt inspired by heroes. Yeah,
it's fun. I like the integrations that they kind of do with each other. It's if that's the case, it was really kind of cool. But I thought it was fun see those.
I think the loot thing is one of the things that's going to give the runs a little bit more replayability, because you're going to be looking for that item that you want to use, and you're going to want to beat your time or your a higher difficulty or whatever, and get that perfect run with your friends. Arano, you mentioned you love Left 4 Dead, right? You said you'll grind it and grind it and grind it. I think the thing about this is it's really going to be the kind of game where you're only going to play with your friends. That's like
absolutely.
Everyone's different. Maybe some people wouldn't mind solo queuing this, but this seems like the kind of content I'm going to get together with my buddies. We're going to land. We're going to grind some runs, and I'll play it here and there. But I am worried about replayability in this expansion, outside of just grinding the campaign, grinding the story. I'm going to do that. That's a guarantee. But I don't know if the other PvE content will have longevity. How do you guys feel?
Yeah.
I think I'm the wrong person to ask, because I can, speaking of Left 4 Dead, which had I feel like 5 maps, I could grind them over and over again if I had 3 good friends. So I'm the wrong person to ask. If they give me any sort of leveling, I don't even think I would need a level.
I mean, you're clearly not the wrong person to ask, because you're saying that you want to grind it, so that's your opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to agree with me.
It doesn't take me much.
Yeah. How do you feel, Vipey?
I think, I'm kind of a little bit in the middle ground from both your, from both you, Jake, and you, Arano. I feel like, to me, I could do it constantly if there's an achievement thing where it's if you're a leaderboard-esque feel, for finishing quicker or getting that kind of that WoW mythic run feel. Or it can go the way where I'm all right, cool, I did it, and that's it, but I don't know. I feel like I don't think they would just kind of throw it out there and just be there's not enough to do. I feel like there will be a good amount.
Yes,
I
agree.
I hope so.
Especially if they're saying this is Overwatch 2, when you buy this, you're gonna have a lot of fun. You're expecting it to be not just a Talon event where you're just doing one little cinematic run of Talon. You're now doing a larger scale. I feel like
Absolutely.
And
and we got to take. So there's a lot of questions we obviously will have answered over time. Will there be raids with 8 players? Will there be diversified content in that guard? What is this content release going to look like? Are we going to get everything at once? Are they going to do it in waves of content? Overwatch has been very good about releasing free content over time. Will they paywall content down the road, selling expansions, or do you have to wait till Overwatch 3? But you're right. I think you're absolutely right that Overwatch 2 will at least bring a large amount of content.
I can just say that I am kind of I was literally in my mind I was just expecting here's Echo, the new hero, because she was teased last BlizzCon.
Usually what we get, right? Yeah.
And this threw us all through a loop.
She was in the video though. I mean, she's clearly going to be a character.
Yeah, but I'm so excited. She has that really cool ability. If you freeze frame it right when she flies in, she actually throws a shield ball over their weapons, so it backfires on them.
That's cool. That's cool.
I'm is she a support / kind of a defense? I'm literally
that's a support. It's a suppressing ability, so that's definitely support.
Yeah,
but it's support in a really fun way. That's not just healing, right?
Exactly.
Not just shields, not just healing. It's damage mitigation by taking their damage away.
I agree. And there's one more hero. I slipped her name. Starts with a J or a.
Yeah, I
forgot her name.
I don't know her
name.
But the community knew who she was. They cheered when she came out. So I'm not super in tune with the Overwatch scene, but people knew who she was.
Sojourn, is that how you say that?
Yeah, I don't know. Sojourn, that's how I would say it.
She looks like a rifle bearer or a heat scan kind of
looks like similar technology to Zarya's weapon. So I'm curious what her lore is.
Yeah.
I'd like to tell a real quick story about Overwatch 2 when we were there. So we were on our way to go play the demo. We stopped to look at some art, and it was a really cool artwork of all the different characters, and on the right side there was this new Omnic that no one had seen before, and Jake's oh, I wonder if that's gonna be a new character.
Dude, he looks
snuck him in.
It's Overwatch heroes versus an army of Omnics. I'm yo, there's this one red one in the air. Dude, if that's like a Gundam Omnic I can play as, he's my main. Anyways.
And so we go to the Overwatch 2, and like the first thing you do is like 8 of them drop down, and Jake's like, "Oh, I guess that's not a character."
Oh, they all superhero landing in. It was like boom, 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 boom. You're like, oh, and like they're super flying pharaohs style, and you're like, okay,
Just crushed it right there and then.
the dream.
No more than 5 minutes.
The art style and the design around them is like very similar to Zone of the Enders, which is a mecha I'm very fond of. I'm big into like just Japanese mechas in general, which is why I'm a big fan of Mecha Storm and Heroes of the Storm. But yeah, I'm fiending for like a badass Omnic, you know, that has a different vibe to them than what we've gotten. I mean, Arista's quite different than, you know, Zenyatta, so I guess we've already gotten some variants.
Don't worry, I had the same crushing dream when they had that Omnic event, and there was that one assassin that would like drag its blades across the floor and like jump on you and like teleport it around. I
don't think I ever tried that. That sounds awesome.
It was it kind of like it was a Tracer Genji hybrid look, and it had dual blades, and it was like I was like, come on, please be a hero, and it was like no, and I'm like, I was so upset. It was really cool. Like the Omnics have really cool play styles. It would be kind of cool. Maybe in Overwatch 2 we see like you get to play as the opposite side, you know, or you get to play as Talon while Overwatch is there. Like that would be a really cool. There's so many possibilities.
I expect to get those missions, Talon POV missions. They have to tell that story somehow, right? So
I agree. It's endless possibilities, and it looks really amazing.
Well, we're 2 hours over. We're gonna do like the fastest QA ever, just because we already got a good question in chat. 8S asks, these games are supposed to be years away, but nobody said the demos were unpolished. Blizzard, by the way, never gives us unpolished anything. They don't like to do that. So they must be good, but are they really tons of years away? 2, 5, or what? I think it's safe to say, based on what they said, the Diablo panel, they said the game is not soon, not even Blizzard soon. And when Blizzard soon means not soon at all. So to me, that says probably mid to late 2021 for Diablo 4. For Overwatch 2, I have no guess. Obviously, we got Hearthstone's only been in development for 6 months for Battlegrounds, and we have that demo, but that's not a full product. Shadowlands?
Knowing Blizzard, Shadowlands is definitely next year.
Next year.
They've said that. So knowing Blizzard, my guess would be Shadowlands next year, Overwatch the year after,
Reforged next year. Yeah.
I mean, no offense, I'm not putting that in the same category as these releases.
Fair. Yeah, you're right.
They're not the thematic releases that we're getting. So I would say that 2020 Warcraft, 2021 Overwatch 2, and then 2022
I don't know about that.
Diablo.
I think we'll get Overwatch at the beginning of 2021. I think we'll get Diablo.
I meant to say that if I didn't.
Towards the end of 2021. Yeah, you said 2022 for Diablo.
I meant 2021. I meant 1 year release between.
It'll be. I think. Yeah.
I think just to give, I think the Deathwing content is coming out on Monday. Just judging by like the free hero ending on Sunday.
Yeah.
And if they follow the correct pattern they've always been doing this entire year, he should be out soon as well. So, and don't know if the anomalies are coming that soon. They didn't really announce when that was going to start. So
I would guess in about a month. Based on past year BlizzCon would be the beginning of November. We'd get it like mid-December, like 6 weeks later, like the big update. It's usually about 6 weeks after BlizzCon, if I had to guess.
Drop it and then they leave for holiday.
Yeah, no, seriously, that's usually what it is. But they have a lot of things coming in the pipeline. I think it'll be a fairly steady flow. I'm all for the fact that they're taking their time, because if Diablo is going to be this big, massive world with hundreds of dungeons, I'm going to be a happy boy. That's my star of the show for me. I want to hear you guys' number one thing of excitement before we close out.
Battlegrounds. That got me the most excited.
I mean, I'm a Heroes fanboy, so I mean, bring on the fiery dragons. I'm over here, like, I'm Khaleesi. Come on. I mean, I think we all can agree that BlizzCon this year was very successful. I think it was well all rounded. There was not a part where you're just like, dang, I'm let down. There was not a letdown at all this year
And
across the
even
board.
things you weren't excited for, we came out
Ye-
excited for.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy actually.
It was a very good BlizzCon. For me, Diablo 4 just got me unbelievably hyped. It looks like the ARPG of my dreams. I can't wait to get my hands on it further. But for now, I'm so happy to have Hearthstone Battlegrounds to sate me and keep me entertained. Guys, this is a new podcast, and we're going to be doing it, aiming to do it weekly. Obviously, not every week will happen just because semantics and things get in the way. We all have jobs and other obligations, but obviously, Town Hall Heroes ended a year ago, and that show had a long run. Hoping to have a longer run with this one. It's broad. It's not tied to a single title. We're going to talk about more than just Blizzard games. Runeterra beta is like a week away, so probably 2 shows from now. We'll probably be hopping in to talk about Runeterra and breaking that down and comparing it to Hearthstone and what we like, what we don't like. And we'll have guests. I have a pretty large network of people throughout these games. I want to bring people onto the show that are specialized in different fields. Like I mentioned, maybe we'll get Crowan on to talk about TFT, stuff like that in the future, because I think that would just be a lot of fun to drive specific narratives around this kind of games. And we'll keep it fresh and keep it fun. Esports, of course, will be a thing of relevance as well. We're going to do the shout outs, starting with you, Vipey. And dude, thanks again for being here with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Through.
for this hour podcast, we did great. Seems longer. I'm just kidding. No, but get me here. I can talk about things for hours. Anyone knows that about me. But yeah, I'm Vipey. I stream full time. I'm mainly a hero streamer, but most of my stream knows that I'll be playing War 3 as soon as it comes out, and I hope you all like building maps, because that's probably what I'll be doing for the rest of my life.
Awesome.
But yeah, again, I'm also the lead for Team Saga on Twitch. It is a group of amazing streamers who are LGBT spectrum that are across the board playing Overwatch, Heroes of the Storm, WoW, anything Blizzard related, they're there. It's a really loving community. And yeah, I thank Sam for having me. I really do. I like being here. I do.
Arano?
I don't have any shout outs. I work all the time. That's my life right now. But thank you for having me. This always fun to talk video games because we do it anyway, so might as well be on a platform.
Well, guys, we do have some work to do to get the MP3 stuff set up. That is something that's going to be coming as well. So I'm just going to, for now, say follow the channel at SolidJakeGG, follow the YouTube SolidJakeGG, follow our Twitter at TownHall Arcade, and follow these gentlemen on Twitter and Twitch as well. All that should be on the screen at Vipey_ on Twitter, at Arano13 on Twitter, and I think it's just Vipey on Twitch for Vipey. Rhino does not stream, but that might change. Who knows? Who knows? From beyond that,
Did you stream?
I'm just looking forward to getting back into podcasting, making content again, and it's been a pleasure to chat with you gents tonight. GG's friends. We'll see you next time.